Look, I don't want to know anything anymore. This is a world where nothing is solved. And someone once told me time is a flat circle. Everything we've ever done or will do, we're gonna do over and over and over again.
True Detective Season 1 is one of those shows that pulls you in and refuses to let go. Set against the haunting backdrop of rural Louisiana, it's not just about solving a murder, it's about diving deep into the minds of two very different detectives, Russ Cole and Marty Hart. The way the show blends crime with philosophy, weaving through dark themes of existence, time, and evil, is what makes it stand out. McConaughey and Harrelson give some of their best performances, making these characters feel real, flawed, and complex. It's a slow burn, but once it grabs you, it doesn't let go. So what happens when the search for truth turns into a quest for meaning itself? Does the answer even matter, or is it the journey that counts? True Detective Season 1 centers around two detectives, Russ Cole and Marty Hart, investigating a chilling murder in rural Louisiana. The show flips back and forth between their investigation in 1995 and their separate interviews in the present day, with both men looking back on a case that has haunted them and their lives ever since. What starts as a murder mystery quickly unfolds into a deeper exploration of their complex characters, filled with dark philosophical questions about life, morality, and the human condition. The concept of True Detective came from Nick Pizzolatto, who had been a writer and literary scholar before jumping into TV. He wanted to tell a story that wasn't just about solving crime, but about the deeper things in life, things like meaning, despair, and the choices we make. This was Nick's first big series, and he really leaned into his love for literature and philosophy to build something unique. Director Cary Joji Fukunaga, who directed every episode of the season, brought that vision to life with a stunning cinematic style that made every frame feel like it had purpose. The result is a show that's more than just a procedural, it's a deep dive into the darkness both outside and within us. The casting for True Detective really made the show what it is. The chemistry between Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson was the heart of the series. McConaughey's intense, almost eerie portrayal of Russ Cole was a complete revelation, turning him into a breakout character. His performance wasn't just good, it was haunting, with that dry philosophical delivery that made every word feel like it carried weight. Harrelson, on the other hand, brought something different. His portrayal of Marty Hart grounded the show, offering a relatable human contrast to Cole's more abstract approach to life. Together they created this push and pull that made their partnership fascinating to watch. Michelle Monaghan as Marty's wife Maggie was also a standout. She wasn't just a typical wife character, she brought real depth to her role, showing the internal conflict of loving a man who's constantly slipping through her fingers. Behind the scenes, Nick's vision drove the whole thing. His background as a writer really came through, giving the show complexity that's rare for a crime drama. The director was equally important in bringing that vision to life. His direction is one of the things that makes the show feel so cinematic, especially with those long uninterrupted shots like the famous 6-minute one in Who Goes There. It's not just a cool trick, it's a way to immerse you in the world and make every second feel tense and real. The decision to have Fukunaga direct all episodes gave the show a unified, cohesive feel, which helped it stand out from other shows of its time. Filming on location in Louisiana added another layer of authenticity, with the swampy, decaying landscapes perfectly mirroring the show's dark, eerie atmosphere. The setting felt like a character itself, amplifying the feeling of isolation and decay that pervaded every episode. The music, composed by T-Bone Burnett, helped carry that tone, with its haunting mix of folk and blues underscoring the show's themes of morality and existential despair. Every little detail, from the costumes to the cinematography, was thought through carefully, creating a world that felt both gritty and surreal. This attention to detail is part of what made True Detective so compelling. It was a show where everything came together perfectly, creating an experience that felt like it was something more than just another crime drama. True Detective Season 1 was met with widespread critical acclaim, quickly becoming one of HBO's standout series. Critics praised the writing, McConaughey and Harrelson's performances, and the show's philosophical depth. It was celebrated for being more than just a typical crime procedural, offering something darker and more introspective. The eerie atmosphere, sharp dialogue, and complex characters made it a favorite among viewers, though some felt the slow pace and dense themes required patience. Despite the mixed opinions on its finale, the season solidified its place as a cultural touchstone. Even though True Detective lives on in name, the first season is a work of art. The acting is phenomenal, with McConaughey and Harrelson delivering some of their best performances, and the vibe is unmatched. There's this lingering feeling of something beyond the surface, something existential in the air, that keeps you thinking long after the credits roll. It's a real slow burn, and you're always wondering what's going to happen next. It wants you to feel it, sit there with those heavy ideas, and let them rattle around in your mind. I think the show really captures that tension between the personal and the cosmic we deal with on a daily basis, about those intrusive thoughts and ghosts that follow us around. For the rest of the video and review, there will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it and come back. True Detective Season 1 kicks off with detectives Russ Cole and Marty Hart being tasked with investigating the brutal murder of a woman named Dora Lange in rural Louisiana. The crime appears to be ritualistic in nature, with strange symbols and markings found at the scene. As the investigation unfolds, it becomes clear that this murder is part of a larger, deeply disturbing pattern, and the two detectives must navigate not only the dark corners of the case, but the even darker corners of their own minds and lives. Through flashbacks and present-day interviews, we begin to see how the case, and the years spent on it, has slowly consumed both men. The show sets its tone right away with Cole's introduction. From the very first moments, we're confronted with this nihilistic philosophy and bleak worldview, which makes him a fascinating character to follow. His cryptic, almost poetic dialogue isn't just a character quirk, it's central to the show's philosophical exploration. In contrast, Marty represents a more conventional, though still deeply flawed approach to his life and morality. His personal life unravels over the course of the season, adding layers to the tension between the two. There's a moment in episode 1 where Cole talks about time being a flat circle, a reoccurring idea throughout the show that's both disorienting and revealing. It hints at the cyclical, inevitable nature of life and the darkness that seems to repeat itself in both the world and the characters' actions. This philosophical undercurrent isn't just window dressing, it's a constant driving force behind their investigation and their lives. As the investigation deepens, Cole and Hart uncover a web of corruption involving influential figures in the local community, as well as ties to a shadowy cult. The show weaves in these larger societal issues, particularly through the figure of the Reverend Tuttle, whose family's connections to the cult add a chilling layer of mystery. But what makes True Detective stand out isn't just the crime at its core, it's the way it plays with the idea of moral decay and the question of what it means to confront evil. In episode 4, when Cole tracks down a lead in a remote drug den, we see how the show blurs the line between good and evil. Cole's actions are often just as morally questionable as the criminals they chase, and this interplay between right and wrong becomes a recurring theme. It's clear that both detectives are haunted by their own flaws and past choices, making their search for justice feel all the more complex. As the season progresses, the tension between Cole's philosophical musings and Marty's grounded, often emotionally driven actions becomes more pronounced. The relationship between the two men is at the heart of the show, and it's in their moments of vulnerability that we see just how deeply the cases scarred them. One of the most significant moments comes toward the end of the season, when the investigation leads them to a secluded area where they finally confront the person responsible for the murders. The long tense sequence in episode 6, where Cole and Marty are plunged into a violent and chaotic situation, is a culmination of everything the season has been building toward. It's a moment of pure catharsis, but it's also a sobering reminder of the cost of obsession. The show doesn't offer easy answers, and that's part of what makes it so compelling. In the final stretch, the show pulls back to reveal the larger, more existential implications of the case. Cole's search for meaning, the idea of cycles of violence, and his belief that there is something greater at play. These elements build to a final confrontation that's less about solving the case and more about confronting the dark parts of themselves that Cole and Hart have been running from. It's in the final scenes where the true nature of their journey becomes clear. The show leaves you with more questions than answers, but it also provides a rare sense of closure, where Cole and Marty find a kind of peace, not through the resolution of the case, but in coming to terms with who they are. True Detective is filled with small details and technical choices that really elevates the show. The symbolism is subtle but impactful, like Cole's lines about time being a flat circle, which is reflected in how the characters' actions seem to repeat or mirror each other throughout the series. The rural Louisiana setting is more than just scenery, its decaying landscapes and swamps echo the moral decay at the heart of the story. The sound design also deserves a shout-out. The ambient sounds, the call of birds, rustling leaves, help create an eerie atmosphere that perfectly matches the show's sense of dread. Coupled with T-Bone Burnett's haunting score, the music feels like another character, adding emotional weight to the story. The opening song, Far From Any Road, sets the tone right away with its dark, almost haunting vibe. Even the lighting plays a key role, often casting long shadows on Cole's face, highlighting his internal darkness and making you feel like you're constantly on the edge of understanding him. Every technical choice, from the cinematography to the sound, works together to enhance the story and bring out the show's deeper themes. True Detective is honestly one of my favorite TV shows of all time. It's something that sticks with you long after you watched it. At its core, it's a slow burn that really forces you to sit with its characters and their philosophies, which I find super interesting. There's just something about the way it dives deep into the darkness, both in the world and within the characters, that makes it so compelling. It started with such a strong premise, and while it leaves some things unsaid or unseen, I think that's what makes it so effective. Not everything needs to be spelled out, and in a way, the silence adds to the mystery and impact. It's rare to find a show that pulls you in, makes you think, and leaves you questioning things, and True Detective does that effortlessly. Anyway, I'm curious what you guys have to say. Do you think the show was good, even until the finale? Would you have liked to see more, or are you worried they would ruin it? Are you into any other seasons of True Detective? I tried to watch season 4 because it supposedly had a cosmic horror theme, but I found the acting and general vibe to be unsatisfying. That being said, thanks for making it until the end of the video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Here at Inner Spiral, we aim to cover the games, the shows, and movies we all love. So be sure to join us, and I'll see you next time in the Spiral.